Hello, everybody. Justin here again. Thank you for joining me for this next video on learning how, planning for productive skills. And in our last video, we talked about how when you're learning a new skill, you encounter and clarify that skill. And now we're going to continue talking about how we work in the remember and internalize parts of the learning process. Looking right now at the beginning of remembering and internalizing. What happens when we start to remember and internalize a new skill? So, as you remember just means that students begin to practice with the new skill and they develop their ability to recall it. And internalize means they continue practicing, deepening their ability to easily use and recall it. So we're going to start talking about the beginning of that process, where students are first beginning to practice what it is that they've learned. So let's look at an example from real life. Do you remember my yapengachos? I love yapengachos. And I wanted to learn more. So I found a recipe. I tried to make them, but I made some mistakes. Y acabé con yapengachos quemados y sin queso. It was a little bit disgusting. I was beginning to remember and internalize the skill of making yapengachos, even though I wasn't very good at it. It was a beginning. I needed the recipe. It took a long time. And they were not very good. But I was remembering and internalizing the skill. I was beginning the process of developing the skill. So how would this look for a language learning classroom? What could this mean for the language learning students? Here's an example. Again, if you remember, we used the example of the present perfect before. In this example, to begin to remember and internalize the present perfect, the students in pairs might practice reading a dialogue for a job interview with examples of the present perfect. And then when they became comfortable with this dialogue, they could practice a dialogue with blanks in it, filling in their own information. This is a simple idea for how students might start to remember and internalize the present perfect. We also looked before at how they could encounter and clarify adjectives to describe people. After they've encountered and clarified them, in order to begin to remember and internalize, we might do a vocabulary matching where they match the words to pictures of people. Then maybe in pairs or small groups, they could play Guess Who, where one person describes a person and the others have to guess who it is. Now notice, as the learners begin to remember and internalize, they need support, scaffolding we call it, in order to be able to practice. They may make many mistakes, and they need a lot of repetition. So this was just an introduction to how learners of any new skill can begin to remember and internalize that skill. Now, have a look at the discussion forum below and share your ideas about how students can remember and internalize a skill such as this.